design. Many of these skills are often not taught until college, but here we see students from all around the world now able to design, build, and launch their dreams into space. In addition to all the science and research on board, today's mission is carrying tens of thousands of postcards to space and back on behalf of Club for the Future. The club's Postcards to Space program gives students access to space on Blue Origin's rockets. Now, the postcards on this mission come from 19 Club for the Future grant recipients and their partners, including Guayaquil Space Society in Ecuador, students who participated in the STEM NOLA and Kenner Planetarium events in New Orleans, and schools all across the state of Kentucky. Some of the postcards also come from the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, where Club for the Future recently installed a new post box to space. If you're in Huntsville for space camp or a visit to the museum, drop your postcard in the box and have it included on a future mission. Each postcard on board will get flown to the Kármán line and back, and then returned to its creator, stamped "Flown to Space." When I see an 8-year-old holding a piece of art that she just sent to space, it really does feel like anything is possible. So thank you, Club, for helping to inspire. Back to our long-term vision of millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth. Reusing vehicles and turning them around quickly is essential to reducing the cost of access to space. Imagine if you had to buy a new car every time you drove across town. Travel would be incredibly expensive. So we work towards operational reusability, bringing down the cost of flight. In fact, 99% of New Shepard's dry mass is reused. Everything from the crew capsule and the booster to the ring fin, the engines, and the parachutes. New Shepard's vehicles are currently designed for 25 uses, but we're striving to quadruple that number over time. Okay, we're just under T-minus 8.5 minutes until launch. Let's pause for a moment here as we wait for the go, no-go poll for mission control, which should be happening any minute now. I'm on. Okay. Okay, we've just heard from Mission Control that we are go for launch. I know there's a bunch of excited students, scientists, and researchers across the globe right now. Let's take a closer look at some of their payloads. The first one is from the University of Florida. The payload is called Biological Imaging in support of suborbital science, or BIS for short. This team uses an enhanced flex fluorescent imaging system to enable a more precise understanding of how plants experience the trip to space. High-resolution visualization tracks chemical signals moving through the plant's leaves and stems during flight. These chemical signals modify gene expression during the flight, which is then evaluated by collecting plant samples immediately after landing. Here you see the principal investigators, Dr. Rob Furl and Dr. Annalisa Paul, at work in the field following our last payload mission. Dr. Furl and Dr. Paul have flown payloads on 5 New Shepard flights, dating all the way back to the vehicle's 7th mission. Welcome back to the University of Florida's Space Plants team. Another payload on board today is called wax casting. This comes to us from the MIT Media Lab under the leadership of Dr. Danielle Wood. MIT is going to be testing how cleaner solid rocket motor propellants, such as paraffin and beeswax, can be fabricated in space. Many traditional space fuels are harmful to people and the environment. Wax is affordable and non-toxic. The goal of this experiment is to visualize what happens when 2 liquids are rotated in microgravity to understand how wax forms into fuel grains. Now, these grains could be effective in hybrid propulsion systems on future spacecraft. The T2 experiment from Titan Space Technologies, a new startup in the commercial space market, will use advanced AI to capture suborbital data from multiple sensors and analyze the results in real time. The company's co-founder, Ashley Pilipshin, was the former technical director at OpenAI, one of the world's leading AI research companies. Her expertise will be hard at work today. The T2 results will help Titan advance the development of their AI-powered platform for space experimentation. Impressively, Titan designed and executed this payload in fewer than 60 days. Just goes to show what's possible on commercial suborbital flight systems. All around, there's cutting-edge science and technology on board today. Best wishes to all of our payload teams. We know how much you're looking forward to digging into that data from today's spaceflight. We are at a little less than T-minus 5 minutes until launch. New Shepard is looking ready to go on the pad. If you're just joining us, we are minutes away from launch. Here's the flight profile for the New Shepard vehicle. Starting at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds is when we enter into auto sequence. This is when the team in mission control essentially becomes hands-off. The vehicle becomes autonomous. The countdown to engine ignition is at T-minus 0, followed by throttle up, and the vehicle lifts off the launch pad to begin its journey. Around 1 minute into flight, we reach max Q. That's where the vehicle experiences its maximum dynamic pressure from the atmosphere. New Shepard will throttle back the engine as it passes through this point. After about 2 minutes, the BE-3 engine shuts down, and we reach MECO, or max main engine cutoff. At this moment, the payloads on board will begin to measure microgravity. This is followed shortly after, at about 2.5 minutes, by separation of the capsule, pushed gently away from the top of the booster as it makes its way to apogee, the highest point in the flight. Now we're in free fall and the payloads are in full swing until the vehicle begins to encounter the atmosphere once again. Apogee for both the capsule and the booster happens around 4 minutes into flight. As the booster begins to descend and re-enter the atmosphere, its fins will deploy to help guide and steer it back to the landing pad. The drag brakes deploy, increasing the rocket's surface area and slowing it down. The BE-3 engine then restarts, really decreasing the speed to just a soft hover as it finds mark over the landing pad. Its landing legs deploy, and it will gently set down. Back to the capsule, it's much slower to re-enter due to its shape. As the capsule makes its way back into the atmosphere, drogue chutes deploy, followed by the mains. These parachutes are reefed, or gathered in, and slowly released to help reduce the loads on the vehicle. Just before touchdown, the capsule landing systems will engage, sensing the distance above the ground and firing that terminal decelerator system, which kicks up a big poof of dust in the West Texas desert and slows the capsule down for a soft landing. Okay, I see that we are in a hold. We're going to toss it back to the rocket on the pad. As you see in the upper right corner of your screen, we're currently in a hold while Mission Control makes sure all systems and weather are go for launch. We anticipate this will take a few more minutes. Weather plays a key role in our decision-making at Launch Site 1. Here's a look at how our launch team factors in the often variable West Texas weather.
On a launch day, we give several go, no-go recommendations based on how the forecasts evolve throughout the morning. You have subject matter experts in every subsystem sitting in front of their consoles, intently monitoring everything going on to make sure that the astronauts are launched safely. My name is Andrew Kellenbeck. I'm a guidance, navigation, and control engineer.
My name is Sean Hansen. I'm the launch weather officer for New Shepard. If you're looking for sunny conditions and lack of precipitation, West Texas is one of the best places in the United States that we can have. But we want to verify the weather at the time we have a phase in the launch. So we'll send a balloon up. Weather balloon is one of the best meteorological tools that we have. It provides us instantaneous data of what's going on in the atmosphere all the way up to 80,000 feet.
The guidance and control team on New Shepard has decades worth of atmospheric and wind forecasting data that we've collected ourselves over the years through the release of radiosonde balloons that Sean was discussing, and also from our government commercial weather data sources. We're now able to predict the capsule landing location to about a half square mile, and this is over a 25 plus square mile landing area. That is very, very accurate. The winds, of course, pose an issue for the capsule in terms of where it will end up landing, but it's also a huge factor in the booster landing performance. A lot of times we see wind shears during the final descent of the booster that cause it to have to readjust its position just prior to touchdown. So we're looking very closely at the winds at the lower altitudes to make sure the booster can accommodate those changes.
Best part of working at Blue is having the opportunity to be a part of something special. And just watching these amazing people put this whole sequence together and get a rocket off the ground, it makes me really excited to be a part of it.
My favorite part of working at Blue is the opportunity to work on something that is far greater than myself, that will last generations, and really making an impact on the history and future of human spaceflight.
So much attention to detail being paid by this incredible team here in West Texas. We're going to go back and check on what's going on out at the pad. We want to ensure everything is ready for today's mission for all these payloads on board. While we have a moment, many of the members who make our New Shepard program possible also serve as ambassadors for Club for the Future, Blue Origin's STEM-focused nonprofit. One of them is Roxy Schneider. She oversees New Shepard's maintenance program. Roxy recently answered a question from Javier Miranda in Lexington, Kentucky. Here's the next cue for Blue.
Hi, my name is Javier Miranda. I go to Bryan Station Middle School. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. And my question is, how many times can you reuse a rocket? Thank you.
Oh man, that's a great question, Javier. Great question. I'm Roxy Schneider from the New Shepard Ops and Maintenance team. Yeah, Tail 3 is our fleet leader, which means it has flown the most amount of times out of any booster. It's flown 8 times, which is pretty cool. Tail 2 is right behind it. It's flown 5 times. Tail 2, we stopped flying it because we tested it. We did a really crazy test flight just to see how far we could push the booster, and it came back doing just great. And we have big plans for Tail 4. It's got 20 more missions left before the end of its life, and we plan on flying a lot of people to space in those next 20 missions.
Thanks so much, Roxy. Really great to hear from our team and to hear from students all over the world that are excited about the mission of Blue Origin and what we're doing with Club for the Future. Let's go back out to the rocket and see how it's doing on the pad. are standing by as the team continues to make sure that we are ready for our launch today here on NS-23. We're going to go back to the rocket as we continue to hold. All right, our hold has been cleared, and we are gearing up to launch NS-23, our New Shepard payload flight. We are going to get ready for the bit checks coming up next. All right, there you see the launch gantry retracting. We're going to get ready for our built-in test checks, our bit checks. We're going to make sure all of the subsystems on the rocket are ready to go. There you see the aft fins rotating. Those fins at the base of the booster help direct the vehicle on ascent and descent. There you see the engine nozzle gimbaling. Now that engine gimbals to help maneuver the rocket as it flies. We're also keeping an eye on the pressure and the temperature in the propellant tanks. Those need to stay in the start box or the green zone for all of these different variables. All right, everything looking good with the rocket. It is time to hand it off to Mission Control. Let's launch New Shepard.
T-minus 16, guidance internal. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
Mission Control confirms New Shepard has cleared the tower and is headed to space. Now you can see on the lower side of your screen that we're gaining speed. As New Shepard gains altitude, the atmosphere gets thinner. The bar on the left shows the vehicle's ascent. Now we actually started at about 3,700 feet MSL. That's how far above mean sea level we are out at Launch Site 1. BE-3 engine throttled up as we're going to push up to max Q. Again, that's the point where the aerodynamic stress on the vehicle is at its maximum. We're going to throttle back and then continue on up to space. It appears we've experienced an anomaly with today's flight. This was unplanned and we don't have any details yet, but our crew capsule was able to escape successfully. We'll follow its progress through landing. As you can see, the drogues have deployed and the mains are going to be pulled out next. All right, the mains are out. You see that they're reefed. They're going to be expanding. As the mains inflate, the capsule will stabilize. That's looking like a successful execution for the crew capsule and escape system. And the crew capsule continuing to descend under its 3 main chutes. You can see those West Texas mountains in the background. As we come down towards the desert floor, we're going to expect that retro thrust system to fire. Again, that will take out most of the energy in the landing in addition to the parachutes. You'll see it kick up a big cloud of dust out there in the desert. There goes the retro thrust system. You can see how our backup safety systems kicked in today to keep our payload safe during an off-nominal situation. Safety is our highest value at Blue Origin. It's why we built so much redundancy into the system. We're going to close out the webcast for today. We'll share more information about the flight on Blue Origin's Twitter feed as we can. Thank you for joining us for today's webcast.